All right, this week's guest doesn't need much of an intro. Billy Dib, two-time world champion. Honestly, man, it's an honor and a pleasure to share this space with you, bro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
That's nice. So I guess, starting from the beginning, the very beginning, take us through your early days, where you grew up, surroundings, life at home.
Yeah, man, life at home was cool, bro. To be honest with you, my childhood was really pleasant. I had 5 brothers and 1 sister, man, and we got along like a house on fire. We just had fun and did things what kids do. But I was born at St. George Hospital, man, and I sort of spent the first 3 years of my life in Hurstville, living in Hurstville, and then my father purchased a convenience store, and it was in the Sutherland Shire of Engadine. Yeah, man. So we moved to Engadine, and we definitely had to make adjustments in Engadine, man, because we stood out like a sore thumb in Engadine, man. We were that kids who had the brown hair, the brown skin, the brown eyes, and the black hair. Each of my brothers pretty much looked like I did. Except for my brother Jihad, he fitted in perfectly in Engadine. But it was cool times, man. It was cool times.
So growing up in that, was there anyone else in that looked alike in the area, or was it just you guys?
The only other family that lived there was another family. Their original surname was Najid, and the father's name was Gary, and his wife's name was Lena. They changed their name from Najid to Stewart to fit in.
Oh, wow.
So they became Stewarts. And then so it was like Andrew Stewart, Alan Stewart, Michael Stewart, Jason Stewart, Christina Stewart. Their names fitted in, but they still looked Arab. They still looked Arab, but at the end of the day, man, look, the thing is for us growing up as kids, yes, we got into fights, and yes, we got into arguments, and yes, there was a lot of racism and stuff like that, but I can kind of understand what it is, because as a kid, you feel what's different. When something looks different or someone looks different, you sort of fear them, and I think that's what it was with us, we stood out like a sore thumb, man.
Especially for kids out that way, would not even maybe first time even seeing someone look different.
100%.
So it's something
100%.
new to them, and sometimes they just, what kids are like, it's just straight out the tongue. And
definitely, man. And when we used to wake up in the morning, our house would get egged. Our store would get egged. Yeah, we'd wake up in the morning, people would spray paint on our fence, go home, you dirty wogs. Wow. It was proper racism, man. But like I said to you, my dad had this thing, man. Let's just kill him with kindness. Be good to do. And my dad, I'll tell you something about my dad, man. He was an amazing man. He's still around now. He's an amazing man today. But I remember people would come into the store and have no money. They had no money, and my dad would let them do their shopping and whatever, and he'd write a receipt up and he'd put it on the microwave thing that we had for the meat pies. And for example, let's just say the person's name was Jonathan. He'd write Jonathan, and the receipt would say what they bought and how much money they owed, $160. My dad built that sort of rapport and trust with the community where they trusted him and he trusted them.
Well, so they'd just come and pay it?
And then they'd come a few days later and pay it when they got paid from work. My dad would never let anyone go hungry. If somebody had no money, my dad would give them food. They could sort it out later. Sometimes, I promise you, I remember like receipts would pile up. People would never come back. But my dad didn't care. He was like, mate, I'm doing it for the sake of God. I'm doing a good deed. And I think that's something special, because
of course, yeah.
No one's going to let you walk into their store and say, oh, look, man, you look cold, take a jumper and you can fix this up next week. No one's going to do that,
exactly.
My dad used to give these people milk, bread, eggs, cigarettes, whatever they needed, you know what I mean?
Is that so? Were you the first generation here, or like was your father brought up here or back home?
My dad was he come to Australia in the 1970s.
Okay.
And he came here with all of his siblings, his father and his mother. So they sort of fled Lebanon during the time of the war and stuff, because Australia was offering at the time, you could move to Australia. Basically, you could move your families, and my father moved his whole family here. He first came here, tried to establish a few things, and then the family moved over with him, and that was a big thing. They never spoke no English. It was very hard. But now
those sacrifices for a better life, hey?
Exactly, man. Like my dad, he did that to give my siblings a better life. Because I had 4 of my siblings were already born by then. You know what I mean? They're all born in Lebanon. You know what I mean? So it was good. You know what I mean? So it was good for them. You know what I mean? My dad wanted to give them a changing, like you know, something to change their lives because there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunity in Lebanon. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And by coming here, that was going to give them great opportunity.
I think I can relate to that too, where my father, like, you know, we're the same, where it's they just wanted to give us a better life, and
that's all it is, man.
And sometimes it's you know, it's a beautiful thing when you look back and see the sacrifice that, you know, they came with no friends.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, my childhood heroes, man, are like my mum and dad, man. Like my obviously my childhood boxing hero is Prince Nassim Hamed, but you know, my mum was she's like my real life Jackie Chan, you know what I mean? I remember a time when I was a kid, man, and my mum, she was getting attacked by this man on the way to the shops in Engadine, you know what I mean? He was a racist old man, and he grabbed my mum by the back of her scarf and pulled her to the ground, and she had me and my younger brother Nasser with her, but we were young, man. I was 8 years old, my brother was 9. We couldn't do anything, and my mum, like the protector came out, man. She got up and she beat the shit out of this guy, man. Like she beat the brakes off him, man. And that was like at the point when I see my mum doing that, I was like, man, my mum is like the real life Jackie Chan. Like she kicked him, punched him, like hit him with a bag. But that's the protector in her, you know what I mean? You know, my mum, man, she grew up in like a really, really rough situation, man. Like her brother was murdered when she was a kid. Her dad died in a very tragic way. You know, and that's all in my autobiography. I've written about all of that in my autobiography, and a true heart. Because, you know, people often say, where does the fighter in you come from? And I think it comes from my mum. But then again, you have my father who, you know, left his whole life in Lebanon, came here to give us a better life, you know, worked in a convenience store. Like my father was a very intelligent man. He still is a very intelligent man, but he could have been anything, you know, like he could have been an accountant, a lawyer. I think that's what he wanted to be, you know what I mean? But when he came to Australia, he came here to give his siblings, for starters, his siblings a better life. And his and my brothers Jihad, Ahmad, and Muhammad, and Nasser, you know, because they were around at the time. He wanted to give them a better life, and so, you know, it was just like I guess you know, it was a sacrifice that my dad made. So my brother Jihad was born in Lebanon. Then my brother Muhammad and Ahmad were born in Australia. Then my father went back to Lebanon, and that's when my brother Nasser was conceived. So my mother gave birth to my brother Nasser in Lebanon, and then she came to Australia as well. So
I guess, you know, obviously growing up with the convenience store, did you have your fair share of shifts there? Did you?
Man, it was
or were you too young?
No, it was you know, it was very strange how it all happened, man. Because I remember being a kid, and all I wanted to do was learn how to work the till. Dad, how do I work the till? Yeah. Dad, just show me how to work the till. And he used to tell me, Dad, you're too young, you know, you're not old enough yet, and wait till you get a little bit older. And, you know, when you're young, you just want to get older. And then when I finally got old enough to work the till, I didn't want to work on the till anymore. I wanted to go out and play with my friends. You know, so when Dad would say, oh, I need you to get up and open the shop, I was like, oh, man, I don't want to open the shop, you know. Because we used to have to open the store before we went to school. So we'd open the store, put the signs out, you know what I mean? Put the shelf out for the newspapers, because, you know, you walk past, you grab the newspaper, you come inside.
Because what year are we talking here? This would have been.
I'm talking about. So my dad bought the store in 1988. 1988 is when we moved to Engadine, and we were there for many years, man. I finished basically. I started my year 10 there. And then that's when we left. So I did from kindergarten all the way to year 10 in Engadine.
Far out.
We only left for 1 year. My dad took us to Lebanon for 1 year because he had this idea that he was going to move the family to Lebanon, and he was going to teach us how to speak the language right and write Arabic and read Arabic. And mate, let me tell you something. When I was a kid, I was like, I want no part of that. You know? I was just thinking about how we're going to get back to Australia. I was a massive basketball fan when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Yeah, like as a kid, man, I was madly in love with the sport of basketball, and that was my dream, to be an NBA player. All I wanted to do was play in the NBA.
So that was the first original dream.
That was the first original dream, man. Like growing up as a kid, my brothers played basketball a lot, and all I thought about was, man, I want to play in the NBA, you know. And so my era of basketball that I watched was like the John Stocktons, you know what I mean, the Karl Malones, Hakeem Olajuwon, you know, Clyde Drexler. You had Scottie Pippen and Michael
Bird.
Jordan. You had Larry Bird. You had you know, Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Hardaway, and that were my original heroes. Orlando Magic, Anthony Hardaway, and Shaquille O'Neal. They were my childhood heroes, man. I loved them to death. Like Penny was like an icon at the time, you know what I mean? Like if it wasn't for injuries, Penny could have been anything. And I used to collect basketball cards, man. And I in my lifetime, I've collected every single basketball card that ever came out of Penny Hardaway.
You don't still have them, do you?
I still have them. I still have
Still to
every
this
single.
day?
I still have every single card that ever come out of Penny Hardaway. And I got a folder of Shaq cards. So like basketball was my dream, man.
Right,
and then I remember playing. I used to play in Bosco in Engadine. There was a team called Bosco, and I was playing for the team. And then I'd also play for school. And then one time a rep from America came to Australia, a basketball rep guy. And you know, he saw that I had the talent. I was quick, you know. I could dribble well, you know, because me and my brothers, we grew up like watching movies like Pistol Pete, you know what I mean? So like when you watch kids dribbling, like Pistol Pete used to dribble on a track, on the train tracks. We used to go do that, man.
Far out.
We used to go like to this area and like dribble on the train tracks. So if you can keep the ball on the track, you know what I mean? Just switching it. So as a kid, man, we loved basketball.
Getting your handles right.
We had all of that. You know, so me and my brother Nasser, when we were kids, we used to play 2-on-2 against everybody in school. No one could beat us. No one could come even close.
We used the you know, five boys. We used the sporty family. Like we used the ones that, because I've gone to school with a couple families. I still remember their last names. And they used to just, like, there's families that just, it ran through their blood.
Yeah, well, my brother Jihad and Ahmad and Muhammad, they were really good rugby league players.
Oh, yeah?
And they played, like, representative rugby league, you know what I mean? Like, they played Jersey Flag and things like that. So,
well, who for?
Man, I think my brother MD, he played for, they played around the Engadine region,
Oh,
you know
nice.
what I mean?
Did you ever lace up the boots? You did.
I did. So this is how I found boxing, man, by lacing up the boots. So obviously you want to follow in the footsteps of your brother, but my whole thing was basketball. And then when I was younger, this representative come to the school and he was talking about it, and he saw that I had talent, and he said to me, "Listen, you'll never play in the NBA." And I said to him, "How could you say that? You know what I mean? Like Muggsy Bogues played in the NBA, Spud Webb plays in the NBA." And then he said to me, "Can you dunk a 10-foot ring?" Because, you know, Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues, they're about the same height as me, maybe even shorter. But they can dunk a 10-foot ring. And I was like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know what I mean? They could dunk a 10-foot ring, you know. I don't think you have the genetics to jump that high. Maybe look for another sport, you know what I mean?" I was a little bit disheartened, but I still love the sport of boxing, basketball, like big time, you know what I mean? Then when my brothers were playing representative football, I started to get involved in that, you know what I mean? I wanted to play football, following my brother's footsteps. And my dad was like, you know, because I was having problems at school at the time, getting picked on. My dad was like, maybe if you play after school sports with him, you can win him over, you know? So that's why I decided to play football. And it was only at the football field that I actually found my destiny. When I was at the football field one day, the trainer threw out some pads on the floor, a couple of boxing shields, and set a couple of sets of gloves. Said, "Today we're going to be doing a bit of boxercise for fitness." Well, let me tell you, man, I put them gloves on, pam, you know, told one of my friends to hold the shield up or the pads, and they did. And then the trainer saw me doing it. He's like, "Have you ever boxed before?" And my exact response was, "Nah, man, but I watched a lot of Rocky movies." You know what I mean? You know, and Rocky movies is so like it's not real fighting.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's just good acting. You know what I mean? Sylvester Stallone was like a.
Did you know anything about, like, did you know any fighters? Like,
Nah, I knew nothing about fighters, man. I didn't discover anything about fighters. All I knew was, you know, the Rocky. That's it. I thought Rocky was a real fighter. That's what I really thought. I thought Apollo Creed and Clubber Lang and all that were real fighters. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? It's a movie, you know. When as a kid you don't know that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so once I discovered, you know, the whole boxing thing, and the trainer was like, "Listen, you should tell your father to take you to Sutherland PCYC. I think you're onto something." And I was like, "Maybe I will," you know. So I went home and I said to my dad, "Listen, Dad, my dad was never going to take me to the boxing gym, man. I had to find a way to." And I was a very swift kind of kid, you know what I mean? I was good with the mouth, good with the tongue. So I said to my dad, I said, Dad, listen, you know how you want one of the kids to be the next Mal Meninga? Okay, you want one of us to play like representative football, Mal Meninga style and that? I said, the trainer said, if you want me to play really good football, you need to take me to the boxing gym so I can get fitter. And he goes, all right, I'll take you, you know? So I went to the gym, man, and the first time I walked into the gym, I remember walking up the stairs. I had the gloves on already.
You still remember this day?
I remember this day like it was vivid, man. I had $1 coin in my thumb. I was 12 years of age, man. I knocked on the door with my elbow. Trainer opened the door. The door, his name was Rusty Penton. And he says to me, he goes, how you doing, mate? How can I help you? I said, I'm here to box. And he goes, why have you got your gloves on? I said, because I'm here to box. And he goes, well, there's a lot of other things that you got to do before you can box. You got to learn how to skip, shadow box, hit the bag, hit the speedball, the floor to ceiling. And I looked in the door and I seen two guys sparring each other. I said, no. They just want to do that. He's like, take your gloves off, put your $1 coin in the tin. It was $1 coin to train back in them days at Sutherland, man. You just walk up to Sutherland, you put a $1 coin in the tin and you can train. It was perfect for kids, you know what I mean? And
how old are you here, by the way?
I was 12.
12 years old.
Never looked back, man. I remember walking into the gym and looking around the walls. There was posters of fighters. And I thought,
Thriller in Manila, you know.
I was like, man, this is exactly what I want to do. I remember a painting on the wall. There was a painting on the wall saying, if in doubt, jab out. You know what I mean? Like all these quotes were on the wall. And I thought, man, this is exactly what I want to do. Two guys are beating the shit out of each other and no one's stopping the fight. That's perfect. That's what I want to do. And that's exactly what happened, man. And as soon as I discovered boxing, and, you know, back in them days, everything was on cassette video. I went to the video store and I was like, do you have any cassette videotapes on fighters? And he's like, oh, we got some stuff on Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. We got some stuff on Jeff Fennick, who's an Australian great. He said, let me hire all these movies. So I hired all of these documentary-styled features on Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. And that's just, man, I started like learning about boxing through that. And then I was like, man, I want to be the next Jeff Fennick, you know. I want to be just like Jeff, you know, champion of the world. And then I remember as a kid meeting Anthony Mundine for the first time. Like Anthony had just come to boxing, I think it was like 2001. And I was hooked. Now I started boxing in 1999. 2001, Anthony Mundine makes his shock, you know,
from rugby league.
Yeah, like he shocks the world. He basically says, I'm leaving football and become one of the best fighters boxing's ever seen. And he was a man of his word, you know. And he left for an amazing contract, $600,000 contract. People thought he was crazy. His dad said he was crazy. And he goes, listen, I'm going to become champion of the world. He believed in himself. And I remember being a kid and my brother, Emad, he took me to watch Antoine Nichols versus Anthony Mundine when Anthony was fighting for the world title. And Anthony won, and I was sitting ringside, man, and Anthony won an amazing fight. And I remember he's getting on his dad's shoulders and they were both crying. I said, man, that's going to be me one day. And that's how I really...
So that ignited, that kind of gave you the belief?
Yeah, man,
like,
I had this, like, this thing in my head, you know what I mean? Like, the obsession with boxing and you know, I've visualized, I'm mentalized, I just materialized everything in my head that this is exactly what's going to be. That's going to be me one day. You know, I saw that and I was like, nah, that's definitely going to be me. And then I remember at the age of 15, my trainer, or 14, I remember being 14 and my trainer at the time, his name was Harry Hamoud. He said to me, listen, there's one fighter I want you to fight like, and this is the fighter you're going to exactly emulate. And he gave me the cassette, and it was a cassette videotape, and it was called License to Thrill, Prince Nassim Hamed.
Yeah.
Man, did I become hooked. 365 days of the year, I would watch that tape. I knew that tape off by heart, everything, the words that the commentators were saying. I'd watch it that many times, you know what I mean? And then I was like...
Just a showman.
Yeah, he was an amazing fighter, showman, great puncher.
Entertainer. Man,
I started writing to him right away. Every single day, man, I'd write to him. I'd write a letter to him. I think from the age of 14 to the age of 17, I must have written to him over 300 times. to his fan mail and never got a response once.
What were you just writing? Like, what were you saying?
I was writing to his fan mail, just like, oh, Nas, my name is Billy Diab. I'm from Australia. I don't know if you saw my last message. And then I was like, but I would always message him, like letting him know, oh, I fought this week. And I was giving him like an update on myself, even though he wasn't responding. I was like, one day I'm going to meet you. And you know what I mean? And so like, I told you, man, like when I put something in my head, I had a vision. And all my vision was very consistent. And I knew at the end of the vision and the consistency would lead me to success. I knew that. And I was like, I'm going to get there one day, And then, like, it's just crazy how things happen, man, because at the age of 17, I actually met the Prince. I met him. I traveled over to the UK. I met him, spent loads and loads of time with him.
Was it something that you knew, how do I say this? Yeah, I know you said that you knew it was going to happen. It's obviously something that you manifested and you thought about. I guess just quickly before we move on to that is, there's a lot of maybe youngsters going to be watching now, and regardless of their goal or the sport, what are some tools that you think that can help them? Is it printing out the images? Is it playing back those videos every day to yourself? Or
I think it's regardless of what any kid wants to do in their life, because I go to schools often, man, and I talk to kids and, kids who need a bit of help and things like that. And I always tell them, I said, listen, everything in your life starts with a vision. It doesn't matter whether you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a janitor, you want to be a sportsman. Whatever you want to do in your life, everything starts with a vision. Now, if you are the type of person who has a vision today, I want to be a champion today, I want to be a champion fighter today, then the next day you wake up and you go, you know what, I want to be a lawyer. Well, that's not a consistent vision. I mean, if you've got a vision, plant that vision in your mind. Now, what needs to come after the vision is consistency. Work out what you need to do to become a success in the chosen field. Be consistent. And for me, that was, I had to run every day. I had to eat well. I had to train every day. I had to get my rest. I missed out on a lot of things that young kids do, you know what I mean? Because I made the sacrifices because I knew that to get to the top, you need to sacrifice. You had to sacrifice. And I was willing to make the sacrifices to get to the top. And that's exactly what I did, man. So that my consistency was on point. And at the end of the consistency, the only thing that arrived was the championship belts, you know what I mean? That's what it was all about for me.
That's it.
Because as a kid, I had this dream to be world champion. If you had have told me at the age of 12, listen, by the age of 26, you're going to be a 2-time world champion, I would have said to you, no way. There's no way, man. I can't, like that's a dream, and I want it to be true, but, don't say that to me, man, because you're going to make me cry right now, you know what I mean? But that's how I was, and then through hard work, consistency, dedication, sacrifice, I eventually got there, and that's my advice. If you want something in your life, you got to sacrifice. It's not going to come easy. You're going to have to sacrifice things. You're going to have to work hard for things. You're going to have to make things happen. You have to chase it. You're going to have to knock the doors down, break the barriers down. And that's exactly what I did, man.
I think I credit, I give a lot of credit to the boxers because, I did play professional rugby league and that, it's such a team sport where there's a lot of us. And some days, if you're not picking up that game, you had an off game, there's 13 of you out there. You know what I mean? Whereas in the boxing ring, it's although you have your team, you're the only one out there. And I think I draw a lot of inspiration from, people who are in that craft. And it's just because you just got to turn up. Some days you don't feel like running, or not every day. I'm sure you got out of bed 9 times out of 10 where it's fuck today. And then you just had to get it done, eh?
Yeah.
So,
look, man, the thing is with individual sports, you got to work that little bit extra. You know what I mean? Whether you're a tennis player, whether you're a table tennis player, you know what I mean? Whatever it is that you're doing, you know what I mean? That's an individual sport. No one can help you. There's no one to rely on, man. It's that little bit harder, because you're out running by yourself, training pretty much by yourself. Even though you might be in the gym, there's other fighters in the gym. Really, you're representing yourself, man. You're fighting for your own destiny, and that's how it was for me. I remember there was a point in my life where I liked to train by myself because all I wanted to do was just visualize the guy that I'm gonna be fighting. That was my driving point. Man, when I would run, I'd be like, I got to run faster because he's running next to me. I'm going to beat you, man. I'm going to beat you. And then, like, I would talk to myself, you know what I mean? You have to talk to yourself. You have to be willing to go that extra mile, you know what I mean? You got to be willing to take that extra step to become a success. And that was the thing. Like, for me, as a young kid, you know, I had so many people invested in me. So it wasn't just about me, you know what I mean? And when it's not just about you, you'll succeed.
Yeah.
Because I had a great trainer at the time, had my siblings behind me, had my father behind me, had like, you know, I had all the love and support of all these amazing people. I had amazing sponsors. So it wasn't just me. My success was their success. So when I would go out and fight, I was like, I got to do this not just for me, it's for my family, you know what I mean? I remember when I fought for my first world title, all I could think about was, man, I got to win this fight because I want my brother to go to school and tell his mates that his brother's champion of the world. That was like one of my driving forces, you know what I mean? For my younger brother to go to school and be able to tell his mates, man, my brother's the champ. That's like, that was a big thing for me, you know, like a really big thing.
Was it hard to be something that you hadn't seen before? Like, you know, wasn't like, if done at all, someone from the area, you know, grew up the same way you did, had done what you done at that time. Was it, were you ever in doubt, or was it, you know, you knew that was?
I was lucky, man, because I watched, I didn't watch Jeff Fennick do it live, but I watched these fighters do it on video. But I watched Anthony Mundine do it live. And when I watched Anthony Mundine win that world title, I was ringside and I had amazing seats. Like, I was only a few rows back. So when he won that world title fight, I was like, man, it can be done. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And then you gotta understand, man, I wasn't your typical Australian fighter. Like, I was a go-getter. I was a dream chaser. And so, you know, from a young age, like, I remember meeting the Prince at the age of 14. From the age of...
What was that like?
Sorry, the age of 7. I meant
yeah.
Nas at 17. From the age of 17 to 23, like, I had caught up with Nas on several occasions. I'd gone back and forth to the UK. Then at the age of 21, I went to America to train with to do some training alongside Mike Tyson. Jeff Fennick was kind enough to take me for my 21st birthday. And during that time, man, I connected with Sugar Shane Mosley. So I went to train with Shane Mosley. And I sparred with all these American fighters. And so then when I went and trained with Sugar Shane Mosley, he offered me a contract to fight for Golden Boy Promotions. So next thing you know, man, I'm in training camp with Oscar De La Hoya. I'm hanging out with Bernard Hopkins. I'm spending several camps with Shane Mosley. I spent a lot of time from the age of 21 to the age of 25, 26, or I should say 25, with Shane Mosley in Pomona, California, in Laverne, California. You know, I spent time with Oscar De La Hoya in Puerto Rico, training camps. I was fighting a lot in America, and so I was rubbing shoulders with guys who were like champions, driving like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Bentleys, you know what I mean? Like, I was around that, you know what I mean? And I was watching these guys win titles and stuff. And so it was like, for me, it was like, if they can do it, I can do it.
It's kind of like you're in the right place, and you know you're up next, kind of thing. Is that what was going?
That's all that was
through your mind at the time.
And they believed in me, and I believed in me.
It's also about believing that you deserve to be there.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I believed in my soul. I believed in me. So when I, you know, as a young kid, when I believed in myself so much, and then you have the belief of Sugar Shane Mosley and the backing of Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions, you thought, you know what, I'm just destined for this. You know what I mean? So when I won my first world title, I was lucky because I won that on the undercard of Anthony Mundine, which meant a lot to me because Anthony Mundine was very close to my heart and still is, you know what I mean? So winning my first world title on his undercard was special. But then with the second world title that I won was even more special, man, because that was the IBF Featherweight Championship of the world. You know, legends like Jeff Fennick and Johnny Famechon had previously been, you know, IBF champions in that weight division. So I was like, man, to be mentioned in the same sentence as Johnny Famechon and Jeff Fennick was like, man, that was a dream come true. Like, cause they're like legends of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, I never look at myself like I'm a legend of the sport or a great of sport of Australian boxing. I don't think that we should give ourselves that accolade. I think that's an accolade that people should give to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not gonna walk around telling people, yeah, I'm the best. I was the best. I don't do any of that. When
everyone does it for you.
Yeah. When I was a kid and kids used to come up to me and kids come up to me now and they say, man, if I could just be just as good as you, I'll be so happy. And I said, no. I want you to be better than me. Outdo me. You know, like, outdo me, because that's what it's all about. You know, it's all about, you know, giving kids confidence to be able to go that step or that 1 mile extra. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me. And I'm genuine when I say that. You know what I mean? Like, with my younger brother Yusuf, I want him to be great. With Munir, the kid that I'm managing now, I want him to be great, because I want him to outdo what I did, because that makes me proud. You know what I mean? That makes me really proud. I just don't like arrogance. You know what I mean? I don't like, you don't have to float your own boat. You know what I mean? Like, believe in yourself, have confidence in yourself, but don't float your own boat. I'm not all about that. I'm about, let people give you the accolades, don't give them to yourself.
So that, you know, speaking of the first, not only, you know, 1 world title, but 2, they say, you know, when you're favored by God, you're favored by the devil. And I guess what I mean by saying that is, after the first world title, I'm sure, you know, the desires, the ego, it's almost common in boxing when they reach that pinnacle, because you're there, you know, you've won it, and it's you got everything and to go from everything once and to do it again. What was the, like, how did you gravitate through, you know, being at the pinnacle in the first world title? Because you could have, that's it, you know, you've kind of reached it. It could have been that's it, or, you know, how did you get up and go again?
It's because I was like I said to you, man, I was a dream chaser, and I never rested on the IBO world title. You see, the IBO world title, even though it was a great step in the right direction, it's more or less looked at like a Mickey Mouse world title. You know what I mean? Like, when you're talking about championships of the world, you gotta look at the IBF, the WBA, WBC, WBO. So I wanted one of them legitimate ones. And not just that, man, as a kid, I imagined myself to be a 2, 3, 4-time world champion. You know what I mean? That was the goal that I set. And, you know, you gotta aim high, man. And that's how I was. Like, in kids that are watching this, you know what I mean? It's about setting goals and aiming high. Because even if you come up short, you're gonna, like,
you're still there.
Like, aim for the sky, and if you fall short, you land on the clouds. You know what I mean? So that was my thing. You know what I mean? I was all about chasing big dreams and breaking down barriers, and then showing people that no matter what you're going through in your life, if you with hard work and dedication, you can have whatever you want. And you know what the thing is, man? We live in Australia, so we live in the arse end of the world. So when you got a guy that's from Australia and becomes champion, that's extra special, man.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
We don't have the same, you know, like the same, you know, opportunities that these fighters have. Like, you know, when you're in America, man, you could be in the gym. Like, for example, I went and spent some time with Robert Garcia. I was in the gym, and at the same time, there was like 6 world champions in the gym. 6 world champions in the gym. That's unbelievable, man.
It's crazy.
That's what it's all about. And imagine when you're around them,
it's just iron.
You want to be just like them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like their energy rubs off on you. And I can understand when I was a kid and like champion of the world, a lot of people wanted to come train at our gym because
they just want to be around it.
They want to be around it because when you're around it, it rubs off on you. It's like when somebody's positive, that positivity rubs off on you. When somebody's negative, sometimes that negativity creeps up on you, man. And like, I was all about staying away from the negativity, keep it positive, and just chase big dreams.
So obviously, you know, talking about rubbing shoulders with the greats and how, you know, iron sharpens iron and wherever you are. Tell me about how you know, 50 Cent and the whole Floyd Mayweather thing came about.
Man, that's a really, really cool story in itself, because what happened is that when Oscar De La Hoya announced that he's fighting Floyd Mayweather, I was in my gym at Rockdale. I was training with Harry in Rockdale.
So you were back home, yeah?
I was back home. I was in Rockdale. And we were like, I remember speaking to my brother Eamon, and I was like, man, it would be amazing to get on that undercard, you know what I mean? Like, imagine that, right? And then I remember speaking to Shane, and Shane was like, listen, I'm going to see if I can get you on the undercard, you know? And I was like, man, that would be amazing. And so then one day I remember arriving at Rockdale Gym, and I was driving a BMW 330 convertible, and I used to think I was the coolest thing. And I walked upstairs, man, and I got upstairs, and then got a phone call from Shane Mosley. I'm like, oh, man, Shane. So, yeah, Shane. He's like, listen, Billy, got some great news. I said, what is it? And he goes, you're on the undercard of De La Hoya versus Mayweather. And I was like, no. And he goes, but it gets better. And I'm like, what? And he goes, can't get any better than that. Come on, man. Like, how can it get better than that? And he goes, Oscar's invited you to training camp in Puerto Rico with him. Oh. So you and I are going to fly to Puerto Rico and help Oscar prepare for Floyd Mayweather. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, yeah, you're gonna go over and train. I'm gonna help emulate Floyd a little bit with the speed and that. And I was like, oh man, what a dream come true. So a few days later, here I am on a plane on the way to California. So I'm in California with Sugar Shane Mosley. And then Sugar Shane Mosley and I flew to Puerto Rico, and this was the first time that 24/7 would be following two fighters. So like it was crazy, man. There was cameras everywhere. Shane Mosley and I arriving into Puerto Rico, I was on camera, I was getting filmed, and I was like, man, this is a dream come true, man. What an absolute dream come true. And so anyway, so I'm in camp with 50 Cent, with Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley. We have the most amazing camp. We break camp, we head to Vegas. He's fighting Floyd in Vegas. So I'm at the press conferences. I'm around all of it.
Far out.
You know, and
from Rockdale to Vegas.
Yeah, man. And Floyd Malva is coming out, like walking out to you know, to these press conferences. I'm going straight to the bank with this. Like 50 Cent, big hits, you know what I mean? And 50's walking out with him, and I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm in the same vicinity as 50 Cent. Like I didn't mind Floyd Malva, you know what I mean? I wasn't really, didn't care too much for that. I was like, because I'm with De La Hoya. And like, man, look, for me, after meeting Prince Hassim Hamed, nothing else could compare. And I'd met Mike Tyson and everything. So like, Floyd was cool, but I didn't really care for that. I was with the opposing team. I was with Team De La Hoya, you know? And so, but I was like, man, I need to try to get a photo with 50 Cent, because that would be really cool, you know? And the crazy thing, man, is that that was in 2006. In 2006, there was no such thing as like Instagram. I was like, man, if Instagram was around back then, I'd have 1 million followers plus, you know? And I'm serious, like that, because I was hanging out with the who's who of people, you know? And then I remember seeing 50, and I was like, yo, 50, can I get a photo? And his bodyguard, because he like knew I was with Team De La Hoya, was like, hell no, get no photo with us. And I sort of got pushed out of the way, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, whatever, I don't care. It was like worth asking, you know, it was worth a try, you know what I mean? I did that. Anyhow, I ended up fighting on the undercard. It all went well, man. I won a really good fight. I was in a fight with a guy who was a former IBA world champion. I think his name was Jose Gonzalez. And it was a really good fight. I put on a clinic, man. And then De La Hoya fought Mayweather, and I'm sitting ringside watching De La Hoya fight Mayweather. And, you know, I don't know, but I thought De La Hoya won. It was a close fight, but, you know, but then when you watch it back, you kind of see that maybe it could have gone either way. Anyhow, Floyd gets the decision. So I go back to the change room to console De La Hoya. But I got told to wait outside for a second just while De La Hoya gets changed and stuff. Because, you know, I built that relationship with Oscar where I was like his friend at that point, exactly. You know what I mean? So I'm hanging outside the change room. Next thing you know, like all this commotion is coming towards us because Floyd and 50 and that have to walk past us to get to his change room. And I'm standing there, I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then next thing you know, Floyd Malva stops right outside of Oscar's change room, and he's like, hey, yo, get that camera over here right now. And I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? And I'm standing there, he's like, yo, kid, proud of you, man. You guys, I watched you on, you know, I watched you while I was in the change room. You got some real skill, you know what I mean? You're the future of boxing. And I was like, whoa, that's Floyd Malva. And he's like, I like the way you move, and I like your speed and your eyes, man. You got good eyes, you know what I mean? He's like, listen, how long are you with Golden Boy for? And I was like, my contract's down. I still got a few years to go. He's like, well, we'll be in touch.
Fuck.
And I was like, what the hell, man? I was like, what the hell? What the hell? And then 50 was there, and I was like, 50, can I get a photo? And he was like, yeah, of course you can. And I was like, well, your bodyguard the other day didn't let me get a photo. He's like, don't worry about him. And then we took photos. And then my dad was with me, and I was like, can my dad get a photo? My dad took a photo of 50 Cent, and like I took a photo of Floyd, and it was cool, you know what I mean? It was really, really cool, man. And then
that's crazy, man.
They had the press conference, like after the press conference after the fight, and so I seen Floyd again. And I took more photos with him, and it was like a cool time, you know what I mean? It was really cool. I was like, man, this is super, super cool, you know? And I was telling Shane, I'm like, Shane, like I got a 15 Floyd took pictures, and like, yeah, they're cool people, man. They were cool, you know? So like, cause 50 Floyd and Shane were cool, you know what I mean? Like they're brothers, you know what I mean? Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah.
African American.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean,
yeah.
like you support each other. You know what I mean? Even though we're on opposite times, opposite sides at that time, it was still cool. You know. Couple of years passed, man. 2007. So this their fight was in like May. I think it was May. Like so in like 2007 towards the end of the year. I'm in Vegas. After winning another fight, and my friends are in Vegas with me. A couple of my friends and that are in Vegas, and then we're at In-N-Out Burger, and Floyd Mayweather walks in to In-N-Out Burger, and he's got one of the girls from TLC was with him.
Oh, what the
It
hell?
was his girlfriend at the time, and he's like pointing at me, and he's like, "Come here," and I'm like, "Me?" He's like, "Yeah, you come here." And he's like, "What's up, man?" And I'm like, "Good." And he's like, "How's your boxing going?" I'm like, "Shit, Floyd, you
still
remember
remembers
me?"
me.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna forget you. Of course I remember you." And I'm like, "Come on, man." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Floyd, man, like it would mean so much to my friends. Like I know you're busy and that. Look, do you reckon they could get some pictures?" He's like, "Of course." That's of course. You know what I mean? So everyone got pictures, and he's like, "Listen, tell me what's going on with that contract." And I'm like,
Fuck. So
I still got a year to go. And he's like, "All right, man. Well, we're gonna be in touch." And I was like, "Floyd, come on, man. Seriously." He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be in touch." And now we left it there. My friends, we were just cool that we got photos with Floyd in In-N-Out Burger, and he was just in like a 3-piece tuxedo. He took his jacket off. He's wearing like a brownish suit, whatever, you know. And I think I'm not sure of the girl's name that was with him, but it was the one with the curly hair. The girl from TLC, remember. She's got curly hair. Anyway, she was really nice to us and stuff. And we left, and that was the end of it. And so then in 2008, I fought 2008. I lost. No, sorry. I've gone back on. I'm back in time now. So then, I was in America around, I think it was like 2000. This was in 2008 that I ran into Floyd, right? And not that I wanted to, but basically what happened was that in 2008, Golden Boy, they gave me an option to terminate my contract because I lost to Stephen Loevno in a world title fight. So I won a world title fight, and then I lost the world title fight to Stephen Loevno for the WBO title. And so Golden Boy gave me an option. They're like, if we don't release you, we're going to have to put you back in another hard fight, or we can give you a release, plus we can give you some money. I took the release, and I went on a rebuilding thing, you know what I mean? So in 2011, I become champion of the world. I win the IBF featherweight world title against La Cieva. And I'm going to get to how this Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent thing all comes about. So in 2011, after I've won this world title, my cousin Ahmed, who is my best friend, has never left the country. He's only ever been to Lebanon. So I'm like, listen, I'm taking you to Vegas. If I win this world title, when I win this world title, I'm taking you to Vegas for a holiday.
That's mad, yeah.
So the month of Ramadan just passed. After Ramadan, we booked our flights and we went to Vegas. Anyway, we're in Vegas, having an amazing time. And then we decided to go to the MGM Grand for the grand arrivals of Victor Ortiz versus Floyd Mayweather.
Fuck.
Now I'm going to show you exactly what happens here. I'm standing in this crowd, thousands of people. Thousands of people. I've got a guy called Baby Pete Matrevsky with me. And my cousin's with me, a couple of friends. Floyd Mayweather's coming past us. And before he gets past us, Baby Pete Matrevsky knows Floyd Mayweather's cousin. He's like, hey, such and such, whatever. Anyway, they start chatting, whatever. Then Floyd stops. And then we're having a chat. And then I said to Floyd, hey, Floyd, I'm champion of the world now. He's like, yeah? And I'm like, I'm IVF champion of the world. And he goes, and you're a free agent? I'm like, I'm a free agent. He's like, we'll be in touch. And I said to him, do you need my phone number? And he goes, we'll get it. Don't worry. And I was like, I can give it to you. He's like, don't worry, we'll get it. Because he was busy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, so he did his whole thing. We, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to the fight because the next day I was flying back to Australia. Anyway, I left and I was like, man, this is cool as. You know, I'm champion of the world. Just ran.
He hasn't forgot you for these years.
Yeah, man. Sorry?
He hadn't forgotten you.
Nah, he hadn't forgotten,
like, you left that much of an impression on him.
And Baby P. Matrevsky was telling him, hey, Billy's champion and whatever. He's like, yeah, oh, man, it's cool. And so I left. Anyway, come back to Australia. I made a couple more title defenses. I defended against Eduardo Escobedo. I defended it against Jorge Lacier, against Alberto Cerviti, and then I was fighting a Mexican kid in a normal title fight. I was defending it was a non-sanctioned world title fight, but my title was still, you know, it was on the line that if I lost, I would lose the title. That would strip me of the championship. Anyhow, when I was in the fight, my brother Ahmed come up the corner and he's like, listen, win this fight because I got some big news. And I was like,
he's telling you live on the...
I'm going to win. Don't worry about that. It's because the fight was getting a bit tough, but I was winning every round, but it was getting a bit tough.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fine, no, bro. And then so after the fight, I was like, what's the news? And he was like, go on your holiday, and when you come back from your holiday, I'll tell you all about it. And I was like, just tell me now, man. He's like, just go on your holiday, enjoy your time. So I was going over to spend time with Prince Nassim in Dubai. So I fly to Dubai. I'm in Dubai with Prince Nassim Hamed. We're kicking it and whatever. Then my brother rings me after being in Dubai for 10 days and he's like, listen, I need you to get on a plane from Dubai to Vegas. And I was like, why? And he's like, remember I'd been telling you about, I'm going to tell you something. I said, what is it? And he goes, Floyd Mayweather and 50 Cent have been in touch and they want to sign you to TMT Promotions. And I was like, what? So I'm telling the Prince, and the Prince is like, man, that's a great opportunity, you know what I mean? And so I told him, I said, listen, forget me coming back to Australia, to going to Vegas by myself. I'll just come back and you and I will fly from Australia to Vegas together. He's like, are you going to be tired? And I was like, doesn't matter, man. I'm on a high, you know what I'm saying? And I arrived back into Australia. 2 days later, me and my brother Emad are on a plane on the way to Vegas. As we arrive as we like sort of planning to go there in the days leading up, Floyd Mayweather gets incarcerated for domestic violence. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So while he's incarcerated, he's giving 50 Cent instructions on exactly what to do when we get there. So we arrive into Vegas, me and my brother Emad. We get picked up by a guy called Tony Smalls. Tony Smalls, they call him Tony Smalls, but he ain't Smalls. He's big. He's a big man, you know what I mean? Big African black man, massive. He picks us up from the airport, you know what I mean? He takes us to this hotel called the M Hotel. And he's like, the W. No, he took us, I think, it was one or the other, the M or the W, one or the other. Takes us to the hotel. We're in Vegas. It's amazing. We're saying, so I had a little bit of a rest, and my brother's like, listen, 50's going to pick us up in a few hours, so maybe get some rest. So I had a bit of a sleep because I was so jet lagged from the back and forth traveling. And we finally get up, get ready, we head downstairs, and there's 50 Cent, man. Turns up in a Rolls Royce, a Bentley, and a Lamborghini. No joke. And I'll show you the photos. Anyhow, so when he arrives, I'm like, hey, 50, you remember who I am? He's like, of course. And I'm like, tell me then. I'm going to put him to the test, right? And he's like, I met you when Floyd beat 50 outside of the change room. I was like, man, you got a good memory. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm like, how could we forget you, man? He's like, we know Floyd's been talking about bringing you on board for years. And I was like, wow, this is amazing, you know? So then I was like, 50, like, where are we going? He's like, we're just going to go out, get some food, let's go eat, have a good time, you know what I mean?
Oh, so he's taking you the full tour guide.
Yeah, full, man. And so like, I've jumped in a Lamborghini with him. I'm riding shotgun with 50 Cent. No joke. I'm shotgun with 50 Cent. And people are driving past like, yo, 50. He's like, yo, what's up, man? and then 50 and I get to the Hard Rock Casino with my brother Emad and Mike and whatever. And we're walking through the casino, and then somebody's like, yo, there goes 50 Cent and Drake. And then 50 Cent's like, nah, man, that ain't Drake. That's Billy the Kid, the IBF champion of the world. You know what I mean? You better look out for him. He's going to be great. You know what I mean? And then, so I was on a mad high. But at the time, I had another deal on the table for the Golden Boy Promotions. But we were just going to see which deal's better. And the deal with Golden Boy was a great fight that was on offer. It was a fight against they'd made an offer of like $350,000 to fight Gary Russell Jr. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Let's just see this other option, see what's on offer. So when I remember sitting down with 50, I'm like, man, listen, Golden Boy have approached me and they want me to sign. He's like, nah, fuck Golden Boy. I'm going to go on with Golden Boy. And I'm like, you're not going with Golden Boy, but there's a chance I could be. He's like, nah, you're not going with Golden Boy. You're going with me and Floyd with TMT, and that's it. You know what I mean? So he starts doing all these video recordings. yo, I'm with Billy Dib, Billy the Kid. You know what I mean? You know what it is, TMT. We're going to do it big, and Billy's the IBF champ. We got Gambo, we got Darrell, we got James Kirkland, we got this and that. Yeah. He's doing all these videos. And I'll share these videos with you. I'll show them to you just so you can see. And then a media outlet contacts 50 Cent. And I'm not signed to him yet. And he's like, yeah, we're just about to sign Billy Dib. And I'm like, telling my brother, what's he doing? Like
he's trying to close you off, hey?
This is going to go in the media.
Yeah.
Like, you know, then, anyway, the next day, my brother gets a message, an email from Golden. We're like, hey, what's going on? You know, you guys, what are you doing? So then we sort of had to get this thing worked out. So we sit down with 50 Cent and we put this deal together, and he offers this amazing deal. Like basically a life-changing offer over a period of 3 years and 9 fights. And I'm like, man, I've made it.
You can't even say no.
No, I'm like, I've made it. Like my life's just about to change, you know what I mean? And so then we're going back and forth with the contract. You know, we're sending the contract back to Australia for my lawyer to look at Adam Huda. Adam Huda's sending it back. He makes the amenities, the changes, we send it back. It all gets done. We sign a contract. My name's on the contract. 50 Cent's name is Curtis Jackson. So Curtis Jackson signs the contract. And underneath it is Floyd Mayweather with no signature because Floyd's in jail.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I go back to Australia. But before I go back to Australia, 50 Cent's like, come outside, I want to give you something. And I'm like, what do you want to give me? He's like, just come out to the car, man. And so I go outside to the car with 50 Cent, tips his bag in the boot. So he opens the boot of his Bentley up, tips the bag out, a few things fall out, a few things that I won't mention, a couple of bricks of money, and a couple of mad watches, like proper ice-crusted watches, you know what I mean? He picks up a brick of money, and he throws me the brick, and I'm like, what's that? And he's like, that's your sign-on bonus. And I was like, what? He's like, it's just a bonus. It's just a welcome to the money team. I'm like, shit, I'm for real with the money team. So I was like, hey, 50, I know this might sound a bit tacky, but could we like split the money and like, could we like take some photos and stuff? You know what I mean? For like just a couple of posts and stuff.
Oh, I would have did the whole shebang.
And he's like, yeah, of course, man. And so by this time, Instagram's sort of like, just starting, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking like, 50, can you shout me out on Instagram and all this stuff, you know, like all these cool things.
Did he
right?
do it?
Yeah, he did it, man. He did it. And I went from like 500 followers because they're just saying, and I was like on 17,000 followers in like an instant, you know what I mean? I was like, it was cool, bro. And then that account actually ended up getting hacked and I couldn't get it back.
Oh.
Anyway,
what did you get that up to?
It was up to something really good. I think it was on like, I don't know. It was really good. It was really good, and then it got hacked, and then I lost everything. But I didn't care. I was like, I'll just start again. You know what I mean? But so I've signed this amazing contract. Come back home, and then Floyd gets out of jail. I'm on the phone with Floyd, conversations with him. You know what I mean, about what we're gonna do, the future, and everything like that. And then one night, in the middle of the night, it's like 3 or 4 in the morning. I got a phone call from a guy called Gary Suku, and he's the attorney for Floyd Mayweather or 50 Cent, and he tells me that they're parting ways, and he's like, Floyd Mayweather's parting ways with 50 Cent, and I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, and there's been a bit of a situation. I'm like, what about my contract? And he's like, we're gonna have to work all that out. And I was like, oh man,
oh my god,
a dream come true just turns into like dust, you know what I mean? And so then I'll speak to Floyd. And Floyd's like, listen, give 50 Cent whatever he's giving you back, and I'll sign you up, and we'll just, you know what I mean, we'll redo the contract and everything like that. And I was like, Floyd, I've put the money that 50 Cent gave me into like a locked term deposit, and they give me a return on it, and I can't ask back for it because it's like locked in for a few years. Is there any way that you can give him the money and I can give it to him, and then we could just work it out? And he's like, nah, Chep, I can't do that. I was like, please, Floyd, you know, like, do something, please, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and then 50 Cent rings me up, and then 50 is like, listen, man, you don't want to go with Floyd. Like, he's worried about his own career. He's not going to worry about you, and he's busy and whatever. And so now I've got Floyd pulling from one end, 50 pulling from the other. And then I told 50, I'm like, look, I appreciate, you know, the support and everything else, but I need to go with a boxing man, you know? He's like, well, listen, you're going to need to give me that money. And I'm like, well, just can you just get it by like a Floyd? Like, can you guys work it out? And he's like, nah, you need to give me that money. You know what I mean? Or otherwise you're locked into the contract. So yeah, man, I had no choice. But in the end, 50 Cent, you know, he established this brand called SMS Audio.
Yeah, that's right.
And SMS Audio was basically him against Dr. Dre's Beats. Remember Dre had the beats?
Yeah.
He had SMS Audio. And he created a company called SMS Promotions. I don't know what it stood for, but I was like, all right, well, I'm a part of SMS.
Didn't he have another earphones, or was that the only
one?
one?
It was SMS Audio.
Oh, okay.
And so then he's telling me about, I'm going to do film clips, and I'm going to put you in my film clips, and I'm going to do boxing promotions, and I'll come out to Australia and promote in Australia. And what we'll do is we'll do boxing promotions / concerts, you know what I mean? So I might do a concert and then just one boxing fight. So he started selling me this pipe dream, you know, and I'm like, man, this sounds really good, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, I'm gonna bring a crossover crowd and all these things. So I'm like, all right, beautiful, man. I'm gonna agree to this deal, you know what I mean? So we end up with 50 Cent, and then when I end up with 50 Cent, Floyd Mayweather basically doesn't take kindly to him, man. And so then 50 gets me on a show on the undercard of Miguel Cotto versus Austin Trout, Madison Square Garden, and I'm defending my world title against Jason Velez. And the fight gets announced and everything like that. I go into training camp. I'm in Queensland, in training camp in Queensland, in the Gold Coast. And I wake up in the morning and my phone's going off with tweets and whatever, and basically saying Billy Dib has been taken off the show. And I'm like, what the hell? Excuse me, bro. So then we hit up 50, and he's like, man, Floyd Mayweather's had you blacklisted from the show. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, brother, Floyd basically rang Steven Espinoza and said, if you put Billy Dib on, I'm not going to work with you guys anymore. And so, shit, they took me off right away, you know what I mean? They took me right off the show, you know what I mean? And then 50's like, don't worry, I'll work something out and whatever. And so next thing you know, I'm on the shelf for like a long time, man, waiting for an opportunity to fight. And then 50 Cent finally gets something going with ESPN, and I'm fighting on ESPN on March, I think it was March it was March 22nd or something like that. I was fighting on ESPN, and my opponent was going to be Luis Franco, a Cuban kid, and he was the number one contender. And so 50 Cent goes to the purse bid and makes a ridiculous offer. We win the purse bid, which was like a very minor offer. Well, I still got to get my minimums. I had to agree to a minimum, but Luis Franco was going to get paid something like 15 grand for a world title fight. And he's like, hell, I'm not doing that, you know what I mean? And so Luis Franco gets so upset with whatever, and he comes out and says, I'm retiring from boxing.
Oh.
So the next guy in line is the guy that Luis Franco beat, which is a guy called Mauricio Munoz. And Munoz is like, yeah, I'll take the fight. And then he pulls out like a month before the fight. So I'm like, man, like, is anything going to happen? So then we start scrambling for an opponent. And that's when my advisor at the time, Sean Gibbons, found a kid by the name of Evgeny Gradovich, who was a Russian kid who was trained by Robert Garcia, and they used to call him the Mexican Russian.
The Mexican Russian.
The Mexican Russian, yeah. And he was like, because he fought with a very Mexican style, you know. And man, basically, I ended up fighting him on in the first fight with SMS Promotions, and it just went pear shaped, man. I lost a split decision by 1 point. It was a fight that I actually thought I won, but you know, you're not gonna cry. You're not gonna cry over a decision. You know, even though I did cry to my brother about, you know, not that I lost, but it's being sad that I lost the world title. You know, I mean, after all these years of hard work, you get to the top and then you lose it. And so that's where the whole situation with 50 Cent started to crumble, man.
That's crazy.
He was pretty much one of those guys that, you know that saying everyone loves a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 50 Cent was one of them guys. You know what I mean? Everyone loves a winner type of guy. You know, it was pretty sad for me, but I continued to fight under his promotional banner and things like that. And in the end, I just, you know, I couldn't do it anymore. And I basically got a release from him, and I just went on went on to do my own thing and stuff. And you know, life got a little bit you know, I don't know, took a little bit of a turn, and you know, I started to experience a few like heartbreaks. And obviously, in 2015, when I got the release from 50 Cent, he owed me 1.2 $2 million. But, you know, I made a decision in my life, man, while I was sick, previously sick, that I was going to just forgive him and never talk about it anymore. So it's like I think the most important thing in life is to remember the good times and not worry about the bad times, you know what I mean? And I think that's how you can heal, you know? And
it does seem like a very pivotal time of your career as well, like kind of helped you take off, and then also
it took off, but it was also the bit of the demise. It was a little bit of the demise, but it is what it is, man. Look, it was a great journey, and not many people can say they lived the life that I lived.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
you know, but you know, I have no regrets. I lived an amazing life, man. And, you know, getting to the point now where I made the decision to basically forgive everyone and whoever wronged me was when I was sick in hospital with cancer, man. You know, and I know we haven't spoken about that yet, but you know, early November of last year, man, I was diagnosed with you know, different forms of cancer at the time. Well, I mean, it's not really different forms, but they first found colon cancer, then it like moved on to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And while I was sick in hospital and not knowing whether I'd live or die, I made a decision to forgive anyone who ever wronged me and forgive anybody, and to never you know, never have hatred towards anybody. I didn't want that anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't want to dislike anybody anymore. I just wanted to put an end to that and just have a clean slate.
Sometimes it weighs more on ourselves when we when we carry those things with us, and you know,
it does, man.
I have a lot of, like, growing up, I had a lot of resentment and stuff towards certain people, and after letting go, it kind of feels a bit lighter, and you just kind of it affected probably me more than the person. You know what I mean? They go on with their life and continue their
they for
don't
sure,
care
man, because they don't care.
Yeah,
they just move on with their life. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, they don't think about the things that they did that hurt you. You know what I mean? And I, even though they're probably not thinking about it, I remember being sick in hospital, man, and I would make calls to certain people and be like, look, man, I'm really sorry about, you know, some of the things that I said to you in the past, and, you know, I hope you can forgive me, man. Like, I don't know whether I'm on death's doorstep or not, but I just wanted to sort of clear
your
everything
conscience
with you.
a bit.
And I actually did that with 50 Cent. And I didn't speak to him, but I spoke to somebody in his team, one of his right-hand man, and I just said to him, I said, look, man, I'm not trying to speak to 50 Cent, but could you do me a favor, man? Could you just pass him on this message that I forgive him and that I have no hard feelings? And maybe he didn't care, but I just wanted to get that off my chest, because I was like, if I can release myself of the burden that I've been holding, the resentment that I've been holding, maybe that'll set me free. And I wanted to do that
powerful, man.
before I, you know, because like I said to you, man, while I was in hospital, there was times that I saw death, you know what I mean? And I thought, I don't want to leave with a slate with hatred towards people, you know, and I tried to reach out to everybody, and even somebody who's very close to the GEEDUP team, who is George Cambosis. I even reached out to him to try to just say, look, man, I wish you all the best, man. It's no hard feelings, you know what I mean? I'll just, you know, if I want to fight you, that's got nothing to do with hating you or disliking you. I mean, at the end of the day, you are who you are, and I am who I am. But yeah, he never responded back, but that didn't matter, because it was just about me.
It was a clear conscience.
Just me trying to clear my conscience, you know what I mean? And so I was able to do that with a lot of people, a lot of fighters in Australia who I'd sort of fallen out with. I cleared all that up.
Did it feel better? Did it feel
a lot better, man. I felt like a free soul. I felt like if God was going to take me, I was going to be coming back cleansed and no hatred in that heart, you know what I mean? Just a cleansed soul. And now, man, I live a better life, because you see, prior to getting sick, man, I think that, you know, it's not just me, but it's a lot of people. We just kind of like, we live in society just, you know, just getting by, you know what I mean? We just live in getting by, you know what I mean? You know, we work to live. We don't live to work, you know what I mean? Like we're chasing that dollar, and we're chasing things, and, you know, one person's got a house, they want another house, and they want another house. And, you know, when you see people in this country who are broke and who are doing it really tough, that's because of them, man. They choose to be that way. You know what I mean? When somebody's on a minimum wage, earning, for example, you know, let's just say somebody's earning $1,500 a week, and then they go buy a property that costs them $1 million, and they got a mortgage of, say, $900,000. You know what I mean? So they're living this scraping by, and they're living like paupers and that, because that's a choice that they made. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you know, let's just say they say, oh, just because I want to put a roof over my son's head, or my child's head, or whatever they want to do. At the end of the day, man, like, you can do that by just renting a home. You don't have to own a home, because when you own a home or whatever, and you put yourself in a really big debt and that, you know, you don't get to spend as much quality time with your family as they want you to. You know, and kids, all they want is for you to be around. They just want your time. Because the kid doesn't remember that he grew up in a mansion with 20 bedrooms and 10 bathrooms and a massive swimming pool. He doesn't care about that. What he cares about is the memories that he made with mom and dad. And what's the point of having that beautiful home, and if you can't be there for your kids and your wife and whatever? And so, you know, I made choices to, you know, when I went into hospital, maybe I was just getting by and living my life, whatever, you know what I mean? Like everybody else. We're surviving.
Yeah,
you know, and
it puts a lot of things into perspective.
It does, man. When the doctor told me that I had 6 months to live, all I said to him was, you know, in my mind I was thinking, man, all I want to do is survive, because I just want to be there for my son. And now that I've survived, all I want to do is live. And when I mean live, I just want to live my life. You know what I mean? I want to create memories with my wife, with my son. I want to love them as much as they love me. You know what I mean? And vice versa. I just want to create beautiful memories with the people.
Because all these, you know, all these materialistic things, and like, what is it good for? You can't take it with, you know what I mean?
You're not taking anything with you, man. And I'm a realist, you know what I mean? Like, I should be getting ready to die right now. If I listen to the doctors, I should be dead right now. I mean, he said to me, you got 6 months.
What were you actually, so going back, what were you actually diagnosed with?
Well, I was originally, they found cancer in my colon area. When they removed it, they told me that I'm cancer free, but they might need to do a little bit of chemotherapy to sort of clean it up. And I was like, no, I'm not doing chemotherapy. So the doctors, they talk. And, you know, they've pretty much said to the other doctors, no, he's not keen on chemotherapy. He's not going to do it. And so then when the doctor came to visit me after I got sick again, which was 2 weeks later after they removed the cancer from my colon, he said to me, you have a very rare cancer called non-Hodgkin's Burkitt lymphoma. It's fast growing, fast attacking, and I don't think you'll be around for much longer than 6 months. And I was like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Like 6 months.
What was that like? Like when he, those words kind of, they kind of...
I was devastated, but I was strong in the mind, because my mum was in the room and I didn't want to show that I'd break down. I did break down when he left, because I cried to my mum. I cried to her about what I was worried about. And I just said to him, look, man, thank God for what you've told me. But I said to him, but you're not God, and you can't tell me that I'm going to die. And he said to me, no, I'm not God. But what I can tell you is that I'm a doctor, and I'm a hematologist, and I know what this sickness can do and this disease does. And I believe that I believe what I'm telling you. 6 months is the time frame. And then I said to him, well, listen, man, I'm a Muslim. And in the faith of Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, tells us to tie our camel. And I need to tie my camel right now, because I've got a son that's 3 years old. I'm going to need to walk him to school in 2 years' time. So how do I turn 6 months into 60 years? Is exactly what I said to him. And he said to me, you need to start chemo yesterday. And I was like, well, I'm on board. And he's like, just like that? And I said, just like that. I said, because you see, it's not about me. I said, I've got a son, I've got a wife, I've got a family. It's not just about me. I can't just be selfish right now and tell you that I don't want to do the chemotherapy and I'm going to look for other things. If I spend 6 months looking for other things, then I die, what have I achieved? I've robbed my son of the ability to go to school and tell his friends that, you know, my dad dropped me off school today. Instead, he's going to go to school and tell his friends that my dad died when I was 3 years old. I'm not going to do that to my son. So let's go. And he said to me, well, we're going to need to transfer you tonight to the hospital and you start chemotherapy ASAP.
Just like that?
Just like that. And I said to him, I'm on board, man. I'm on board. And I was drugged up and messed up in the evening and all these things, and went to the hospital, and man, and then the journey with the chemotherapy and that starts, man. And chemotherapy is one thing that's just not for the faint-hearted. It is not for the faint-hearted, man. Like, chemotherapy will destroy you. You know,
almost eats away at you.
Well, his exact words at me was, "We're gonna kill everything good and bad in your body, and it's up to you to fight."
Fuck.
And I was like, man, he's like, we give you the medication to keep you alive. When he says that, he really meant it, man. Because like, man, I saw death, you know, and like, I remember one night I was like, man, I couldn't even compete against the fly right now. I was so weak. I could barely get up to walk to the bathroom. I was finished. Joey, I was actually finished. I had nothing left. So for me to be here and to be alive is a miracle learned from God, man. Because God's all merciful, you know what I mean? Like, I prayed to God. I begged God. I begged for his mercy, and I begged for him to give me time with my son, man, because I just didn't want to rob my son of that ability to have a father, you know?
It's a powerful story, man. So, like, obviously, you know, seeing you're in remission now, yes?
Yeah, I'm in remission now.
Yeah, so, you know, you're looking so much better to when...
Yeah, my hair's growing back on my face
getting
now.
some colour back.
Got a little bit of hair, the colour's coming back. I'm feeling good, man. Like I said to you, you know, I'm just taking each day as it comes now. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm just trying to live my best life. But I'm trying to live it accordingly, man, as a God-fearing Muslim, you know what I mean? I will never... I've made an oath. I'll never wrong anybody. I'm never going to do wrong by anybody. I'm never going to hate on anybody. I'm never going to hate anybody ever again. This is an oath that I made to God, you know what I mean? I'm going to wish everybody the very best of luck, man, in everything they do. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to take each moment of life and take it in my stride, man, and just create the most amazing, beautiful memories with my son.
That's beautiful, man. So tell me about when you got the good news? When did that...
Yeah, man. So March 6th.
Only a couple of weeks ago now,
Yeah. My wife and I, we woke up. It's exactly 21 days ago, man. We woke up in the morning very early. We prayed, and then we headed to the hospital to get a PET scan. And I had built up a really good relationship with the gentleman who works there. His name's Larry. He had done a couple of previous PET scans for me. And the PET scan basically tells you where the cancer is and stuff. And so, you know, we went to do the PET scan, and we did it. And afterwards, I sort of asked Larry, you know, how's it looking? And he was pretty cagey. He didn't want to say anything. And he's like, I'm not really supposed to say anything because I've got to leave it to your hematologist. And so he goes, but what I can tell you is that it looks good. Yeah, and so when he said that, I thought, okay, it looks good, but maybe the cancer's still there. We're getting better, but it's still there. And I thought, oh man, I can't go through any more rounds of chemo. I'm really done with this chemo. It's really killing me. It's hurting me. It's painful. You know, the vomiting, the anxieties, like I've just had enough of it. And so I contacted the hematologist, who's Dr. Abi Bhattacharyan, and said, Dr. Abi, I've just done the PET scan. He says, Billy, I'm very sorry, but I'm in theater today and I can't really help you. I said, oh, can I get the results? Like, can you give me the results? And he's like, I can't do anything until maybe 9 o'clock tonight. But I have a meeting with you at 12 o'clock. Let's just leave it till tomorrow and you can come in and we'll talk about it. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get through another day. And I got all my followers on Instagram in suspense because everyone's messaging me like, what's happened?
And those times takes 24 hours feels like a whole week.
Yeah, man. And so then around 2 o'clock that day or 3 o'clock, he called me and he said, his number came up on the phone. He says, Billy, it's Dr. Abi. And I said, Dr. Abi, I know. Your number's saved in my phone. Talk to me, man. And he's like, listen, I've got some really good news. And I said, what is it? He goes, congratulations, you're cancer-free. You're in remission. I was like, what? He's like, you're in remission. Congratulations. And he goes, listen, I got to go now, but we'll talk tomorrow at our meeting. And I was like, hold on, doctor, before you go, can I tell everybody? He's like, you can tell anybody you want. Good luck. And I was like, what the hell? So I ran upstairs. My wife was upstairs with my son. I said, I got to tell you something. She said, what is it? And I said, I just got a call from the doctor. And she goes, what? And I said, I'm in remission. She goes, what? I got me in remission. We just hugged and she started to cry. I teared up a little bit. My son started jumping. I said, Dad, I don't have to go to the hospital anymore. He's like, yeah. I go, Dad, I'm not going to sleep there anymore. I'm gonna be with you, Dad, every night. And he's like, oh, yeah, Dad.
You got used to it, eh?
I was like, what a feeling, man. And then we went downstairs and my wife's like, listen, how are we going to tell everybody? And I was like, let's just do a sign. My dad's in remission and look at my dad's cancer free and I'm in remission. Let's get Leif to hold it up and whatever. And that was all I needed to do. That said enough. That was
powerful.
Enough,
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
You know, and man, I remember ringing my siblings and my dad and just all my loved ones and my friends. And man, like, what a relief, bro. Because, like, man, chemotherapy is like nothing I've ever experienced in my life.
Well, different kind of rounds, eh? From the rounds in the ring to the rounds of chemo.
And I pray that God protects anybody that's going through it. And I pray that God never gives it to anybody, man, because It's a horrible disease, bro. It's disgusting, man, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, man.
You're
I
a
don't have no
survivor.
enemies, but I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy if I had one. You know what I mean? It's a really horrible thing, man. And so, you know, to be in remission, and then, you know, a few days after being in remission, man, we decided to launch my autobiography, which is A True Heart, man.
I was gonna say, yeah, talk to us about it. True Heart. So it's when's that out? Is it out already or?
Yeah, this is A True Heart, man. It's the book is was available for is available as well for pre-purchase.
That's it.
Is
that on online?
Yeah, online at www.billydib.com. That's my website. It's my webpage, man. And so, you know, this is a book about the journey of my life. You know what I mean? About everything, all the good.
What a story, man.
Every amazing. You know, from the birth, man. From birth. As you can see, there's a photo there, man. At birth, I got my fists up. I'm ready to go. You know, when I come out, I was a fighter from birth, man. And you know, just a journey through life. You know what I mean? From the passing of my wife, who passed away in 2015, to you know, the ups and the downs of my boxing career, to re-getting married, to finding my beautiful wife Berry, and having a beautiful son in Laith. It's a book about life, man. This is not about. You know, when I say A True Heart, the fights of my life, you know, this is overcoming the barriers of, you know, of being picked on, being bullied, you know, overcoming the heartbreak, the hardships of life.
You literally fought your whole life.
Yeah, this is a book about life, man. It's not a book about boxing. It's a book about life. And even though boxing gave me an amazing platform, my life is not defined by boxing. It's defined by overcoming the adversity of what I've been through. And, you know, the relationship that I have with GEEDUP and with Paco and the team is just amazing, man. And some of the things that, you know, Jake has created for me is like.
Speaking of, I've seen he's made a few designs for you. We've got some merch coming.
Yeah, man. Jake was kind enough to invite me in a few weeks ago, and he designed. You know, I've got my own label, which is Believe. Believe is the brand, and the slogan that goes with that is vision, consistency, success, and it's about believing in yourself. You know, having the desire to succeed. You know, and putting everything into it. That's what it's all about. And so, you know, Jake helped me design this amazing, you know, brand that's going to drop very, very soon.
You guys will be seeing it very shortly.
Yeah, man, it's very exciting. You know, there's some amazing pieces, and you know, the brand Billy Dib, you know, I mean, Believe is just going to be just as big as GEEDUP. That's the plan.
That's it. Yeah, for sure.
With the support of Jake and the team,
we'll be working together.
I believe, you know, the brand's going to take off and going to do great things, man. And I just can't thank you guys for the amazing support, even throughout the journey of me being sick, and, you know, the love that Jake showed, you know what I mean? He was very concerned, and I know the team at GEEDUP was very concerned about me. And, you know, Jake was one of those people who was like, man, whatever we can do to support, any financial support you or your wife or your son need, we're here, and I'm not going to let anything happen to you, man. And I'm not proud to say, I'm not too proud to say this, man, and you know, I'm one of those people that, you know, I like to hide things out. Jake really did help out, man, and you know, he sending close to even sending money and helping me out with certain things, man. That's like you know, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing to see the love and support from people like that.
Yeah, he's got a big heart, Jake, and he's always you know, willing to help out. But man, what a story! I think you know, it's just a very powerful, you know, inspiring story, and it's still kicking and going. So, you know, it's a blessing to see you healthy and happy now. You know, you got your boy to watch grow, and I think he's future world champion, you're saying, eh?
Maybe, man. Maybe, look, the kid loves boxing, but, you know, we're not going to push him at the end of the day. As I said, you know, he might be academically good in school, you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, I'm going to be one of those people who supports him no matter what he wants to do. If he wants to box, we can talk about that. Maybe we'll have a couple of arguments with his mum, but we'll work it out. But, you know, like, the message is clear, man. You know, at the end of the day, I want everyone out there who's going through the struggle of life, you know, to just look at the bigger picture, man. There's so much more to life, you know what I mean? And there's no point being upset and angry with people. Don't be upset with the situation, man. Have trust and faith in God, and just chase your dreams. Set the goals, have a vision, and chase that dream, man. Chase them until you knock them doors right down.
Well, Billy, thanks again for your time, brother. I appreciate it. It's been an honor. And we'll see you again shortly.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Don't forget, get out there, purchase this book, A True Heart. It's a book about life and the journeys of life, and I think you guys will
be
really
available
enjoy
just
it.
online. No, not at Dimmicks or anything.
No, you can get
it?
this. It's going to be available in Dimmicks. It's going to be available in so many bookstores. Big W is going to be stocking it. So,
You're gonna do any appearances?
It's going to be plenty of appearances. We're going to do one on the 13th of April. We're going to do one on the 15th and the 16th, and they're going to be at Bankstown Centro. I'm going to do another one at Bass Hill Plaza, and I'm going to do one in Fairfield. So they're just a couple that's going to be coming up.
When's the one at Bankstown?
I think the one at Bankstown is going to be on the 13th of April.
We'll be there with some gift cards. I'll be there. I'm happy to give gift cards, clothes. We'll be there with you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Guys, purchase the book. It's going to be massive. It's going to be great, and I'm sure you guys are going to really enjoy it. Thank you so much for the support.
Thanks.